Nice to meet ya. I'm Adria. Adria. That's it. Okay? Got it? Okay.
2,000 years later.
So I went to my kitchen to get a champagne glass because I thought it would be like celebratory, but my champagne glass was in the back of my spice cabinet and was so dusty and smelled like pepper and it was grossing me out. So here we are with a mug. It seems more fitting for me anyway because who am I trying to kid? I don't drink champagne. I didn't even at my wedding. Cheers with a B mug, girl. And it's literally just water. I don't know why I'm like anxious right now. Like I feel like I can't breathe. I'm gonna be discussing 30 things that I've learned in 30 years. So I just turned 30 on August 3rd of this year. And I challenged myself to write down 30 things that I have learned. I put off making this video because I don't know why the thought of making this video was really like nerve-wracking to me. I don't know, I guess like it'll be a little deep, but I also don't want it to be that serious. Like let's just have fun, you know, like go get a snack, go get a drink, fold some clothes, do your dishes. Like, I don't know, like let's just hang out and like this is just a discussion. So if you have like any thoughts or feelings on anything I discuss, I would love to hear your feedback. This is just what I personally have learned in my 30 years of life. So here we go. Number 1, prioritize learning over being correct. This was really important for me. I was the kid that never raised my hand in school because I was so afraid of being wrong. I have such a fear of just looking dumb. And the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, what does it really matter? If I say something that's incorrect, does it really matter? I remember I made a video years ago where I mispronounced something and I deleted the video. Where nowadays I'm like, you know, it is what it is. So I think that we should prioritize learning something over being right all the time. Because even if you raise your hand in school and you get it wrong, you still tried. I always thought like my teacher would be like, dumbass, what? Am I the a-hole for raising my hand in class and getting the answer wrong? No. Number 2, you don't need to have an opinion about everything. That was a very loud slam. This is blanket advice. I think I first heard Bo Burnham say this. If I can find the clip, I'll put it in. Hearing this, I could feel myself be able to take a full deep breath. It was so relieving to me. I let myself off the hook of I don't even need to have an opinion about stuff. Polarizing political climates, so much media in our faces, so many things. Like, what do you think of this thing? What do you think of this artist? What do you think of... I don't even need to have an opinion about everything. And like, I saw people on my Facebook kind of crapping on Taylor Swift, like the Eras tour, like, I don't get all the Taylor Swift hype. And I was even kind of thinking to myself, like, I don't really get the hype either, but also I'm happy for people that do experience that are happy about that. Like, if that makes you happy, I love that. But like, I don't have to have an opinion. And that is such a freeing feeling of like, I don't really care either way. And I think we'd be much happier if someone asked us about a topic or something and you're just like, I don't really have an opinion on that. Oh, breathing in crisp air on a spring afternoon. Like, are you kidding? Free yourself of that emotional burden. You only keep the relationships you water. Friendships aren't a given. So when I was younger, you know, I had friends in school and whatever, but it always felt like that was just a given. If I have a friend at one point, they will be my friend for years to come. You know, if you're talking about somebody like, oh, my friend this, my friend said this, my friend did this. And as the years go on, you're like, oh, wait, that's not my friend anymore. There's like a moment in time where you realize, oh, my friend so-and-so is now just so-and-so. I think this also happens to parents, like when their kids grow up, of like their kids like drifting away from them and like, oh, I actually have to like water and nurture this relationship. This isn't just a given. This will not always be here. And you only keep the relationships that you nurture, that you take care of. It's not just they were once there, they will always be there. This is kind of obvious. To have this moment of realization, gosh, when did this really sink into me? I feel like it was even more recently, but you do start to feel that as you get older and like graduating high school, and then your friends aren't really there anymore. And you know, I had friends I kept in touch with after high school for a few years after we graduated, and now it's like I don't really talk to anybody that I went to school with. And that's like, it's weird. It's weird to realize that you have to like water this relationship, you know, put some fresh soil in there, girl. Otherwise, like, it's gonna go away. Now I'm depressed. This is kind of random, but number 4, bleach is crazy damaging to your hair. Be super careful with it, LOL. Yeah, I was very stubborn and bleached my hair for, gosh, what, like 6 years on my own. It reached the point where I was losing large chunks of my hair. I was so stubborn, I didn't want to stop doing it. I loved the bleach blonde look. I always have, I always will. The older you get, the more you want to just like actually take care of like your skin, your hair, your nails, your everything. Like, you just feel this need to like preserve yourself as much as humanly possible. Like, wow, I only have 1 head of hair. Let me not fry it with bleach. Oh my gosh. Like, when I think about how I used to just lather bleach on my hair. Yeah, and my mom tried to talk me out of it. She tried to talk me out of it. Like, it's a lot of upkeep, it's expensive, it's damaging. Did I listen? No. Just lessons in growing up. Take care of your hair. You reach a point in your late 20s, 30, where you're like, wow, maybe I should actually take care of my hair. You know, have fun while you're young. Bleach it, color it, do all that. I'm not even saying don't do it at 30. Do it however long you'd like to. I just needed to know when to tell myself to stop. Have a moon pie. Number 5, learn about your older relatives before you're unable to. We got my Nana this thing called Storyworth, which is essentially where you get a prompt every single week and you write a story about different things in your life. And I'm learning so much about my Nana that I never knew. And I know obviously not everybody has, you know, relatives that they're super close to. If your family's toxic, this doesn't apply. Yeah, like, and it made me realize that we need to just like ask our family questions, you know, like just like find out about them. Cause I'm even thinking now, like, I'm 30 and I have so many stories and things that have happened in my life already. And it's like my Nana had 50 years before I was born. Like, that's even longer than now that I've been alive. Like, there's so much of her that I never saw. I don't know. I think it's like important and interesting to find out about your parents, your relatives, your grandparents, like even your siblings. Like, I don't know, just like ask people questions. Like, don't talk about the weather. Don't talk, like, who cares? The other day, my mom told me a funny story about like when her and my dad were married before I was even born. And like, it was actually a funny story and like a cute story. And I'd never heard just like a funny, cute story about my parents. I don't really say my parents, that feels weird because like, I don't remember my parents being married, but just to like hear that was like, oh, there were moments that were okay. Because especially if like your parents have been divorced your whole life, you just think in your head like, oh, it just must have been bad the entire time. Yeah, just like, I don't know, share things with people. If you're a parent, like, tell your kids stuff. They might not care. And if you're younger, you might not care now, but you will. If you're older, you probably know what I'm talking about. Number 6, you'll constantly be chasing something. Learn to feel content where you currently are. I live by this. So I actually have this as like my Facebook bio is be content where you are. Because I think life really can feel like a hamster in a wheel. Like, we're constantly just chasing something that we never get. And that never goes away. Even people that have achieved like great financial success, they're constantly still chasing something. I'm no brain expert, but you know, there's even like, you know, celebrities like get into like addiction and stuff and like they're miserable because it's like they've made it. Like, they have everything, but you still feel that feeling of what next. And when there is no what next, you'll go crazy. So that's why I kind of live by be content right where you are. And even if where you are kind of sucks, I know. It's learning to just be like present in the moment, acknowledging what is good about right now, even if there's a lot of bad, trust me, girl, I know. And that's not saying to not aspire to achieve things and, you know, all that, but it's to not be constantly looking to years down the line. Because that's kind of depressing to think about, like, where am I going to be in 20 years? Like, don't do that. Number 7, like whatever you like. Music, movie, style, makeup, anything. I was always so afraid to just like the things that I like. Sometimes found shame in it. So I think it's important to just let yourself like the things you like. And even when I first moved out on my own, when I started buying like home decor, I thought it had to be very much like boring, basic. I remember I wanted everything in my house to be brown. Like I wanted a brown comforter, a brown shower curtain, like, because I thought that's what you did when you had your own adult living space. You don't have to be boring just because you're old, and you can like whatever you like, and if you like it, that's enough. I'm trying not to ramble too much. I don't want this video to be a million hours long. Have 2 hairbrushes, one for clean hair, one for dirty hair. I don't mean to toot my own horn. I don't think I'm a genius by any stretch of the imagination, but I think this is one of the smartest things I've ever done. I have a dirty hairbrush and a clean hairbrush, because why do you want to be putting your old hair oil back in your hair? No. Number 9, have hobbies that don't earn money. I remember I saw this experiment or something where they had this group of children, and the children were all making art, and they were having so much fun and they were enjoying it, and then they started to pay the kids for the art that they were making. They didn't want to do it anymore. The second we start earning money from something, it puts a different pressure on it. And even people that go to school, like for their dream job, for their passion, the second their passion becomes a career, it does something to your head. Yeah, because like even when I started earning money from YouTube, it changed the trajectory of everything. Like when you're not earning money from something, it feels like you can just do whatever you want. You're just having fun, you're just here for it. But I think it's so important to just have hobbies that aren't about how can I earn something from this? Not everything has to be a side hustle. Not everything has to be a grind. Just let yourself relax. You won't always get the apology. Okay, girl, coming in with the heavy one. I held on to for so many years from people that have hurt me. I was hoping that maybe one day I would get an apology or something. I think it's just important to be able to move on and cope with things without an apology, because it's so easy. Something goes wrong, I don't know, you have a fight with your spouse or something and they apologize. It's easy then to like move on from it. I think your spouse should always apologize if they do something wrong. However, you're not always gonna hear the apology, and I'm not saying that's right. Just recently, it's now been 15 years since I've seen a huge chunk of my family, like aunts, uncles, cousins. It's been 15 years, which is now half of my life. I had no say in that. I had no part in that. I was a kid when this happened, right? You're not always gonna get, you know, what you deserve in a situation, but it's learning to pick yourself up and be able to move on from it and realize that sometimes you're better off for it. I saw this picture, this is so random, but I saw this picture of these 2 strawberries, and the one strawberry was all like white and fuzzy with mold, and it was just barely touching the one next to it, and it had a tiny little patch of mold on it, but the rest of the strawberry was perfect. And it was metaphorical about how sometimes we need to distance ourselves from people. Being anxious won't change the outcome. Only actions and preparation will. Just at me next time, girl. I heard this somewhere. I don't remember where I heard this, but like being anxious will not change the outcome of something. And I'm like, obviously that doesn't make anxiety stop. I know how anxiety works, girl. I was anxious to film this video. Preparing yourself as much as you can for something is the only way to ease the anxiety as much as you possibly can. And if, you know, do the best you can do, and that's all you can do. This is an important one. Write this one down. Number 12, I don't want anything from anyone that they don't want to freely give me. I'm gonna say that again. I don't want anything from anyone that they don't want to freely give me. I'm not gonna chase anything or anyone. I'm not gonna beg with the world, with God, with friends, with family, with anything. If somebody does not want to give me something, I don't want it. Next. Number 13, SPF is your best friend. Don't play with the sun, girl. I used to just get roasted in the sun, had sun poisoning. That's not fun. Don't do that. Now, I do not even leave my house without the SPF on the old mug. Okay, so kind of pertaining to this list and life. Things that work for you don't work for everyone. Life is not a one size fits all. It's probably more like shoe sizes. There are some things that are a little more universal than others, but I hate this whole thing of like, this worked so great for me, so it'll work great for you. No. On that same note, things are not always good for you. And I put the example as such as I'm allergic to walnuts. Yeah, I saw this TikTok like walnuts are so good for the brain. Girl, I'm allergic to walnuts. So, hello? I think my brain would shut off if I ate a bunch of walnuts. We preach things as like universally true. Not for everybody, girl. Number 16, as long as you don't quit, you haven't failed. I'm gonna cry right now. I think sometimes I'm so hard on myself and I feel like I've failed in so many aspects of my life. But even the fact that, you know, I still get up every day. I make my freaking bed every day. Weird flex, but okay. Getting up every day and just facing the world and still keeping a level of optimism and keeping goals and, you know, just doing life. I don't know. If you haven't given up, you haven't failed. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, like my YouTube career failed, whatever. I haven't given up on it though. I still love it. So what has failed about it? I still love this. So what about it is a failure? I don't know. I think we can get in our head sometimes about if something doesn't look a certain way, that it's a failure. And that's not always the case. Yeah, you only fail if you give up. That made me feel like crying, girls. Oh, but on that same note, number 17, but sometimes quitting something that isn't for you is the move. I think having the courage to walk away from something that doesn't serve you is magic. Number 18, you're never too old. Wow. Wow. I feel this sometimes. Like sometimes when I'm like gonna make a TikTok or something, I'm like, I'm too old to be on TikTok. You know what I mean? Or, you know, like wearing like, I'm like, I'm too old to wear this. I'm too old to do this. But then I'm like, no, I'm not. Who said, like, who made the rule book of life that we can't do certain things because we're too old? Sometimes when I go with my mom to get our nails done, she'll be like, oh, I like this color, but I'm too old. If you like it, get it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, life is too short to limit ourselves because, oh, well, now I'm too old. I can't do this. You think you're too old to go back to school? You're not. You think you're too old to start dating again? You're not. You think you're too old to have your first kid? You're not. Me? Am I too old to get my driver's license? Maybe. But it's like, you're not. There's no deadline for life. It's not too late. You can do it whenever you want. 19, moderation for everything. Don't allow anything to rule your life. If we prioritize any facet of our interests or life or habits, like if you go to the gym all day every day, I mean, kudos, that's impressive, but is that sustainable? Maybe not. Let's just use a diet for example. You know, you tell yourself, oh, I can't eat chocolate. Your brain's gonna be thinking about the chocolate and then you might binge some mini Chips Ahoy cookie. Oh, mini Chips Ahoys are my favorite. If you ever want me to love you, just buy me a bag of mini Chips Ahoy cookie. Oh my gosh. But yeah, telling yourself that you can't have something, can't do something, or like, I have to do this all the time. I think life should look more like a fruit basket. What? Life should be a little bit more like a buffet table and you take a little of everything. You don't just put 10 pounds of mac and cheese on your plate. You know? I don't know where this is going. Number 20, this is also something that I really live by. Do it sad, do it sick, do it scared. And I tell myself this all the time because I'm one of those people that I always feel like the stars have to be aligned for me to do anything. If I feel a little bit anxious, if I feel a little bit like off, you know, if I'm on my period, whatever. I mean, I get IBS flare-ups a lot and then that makes me not want to do anything. So I always tell myself, do it sad, do it sick, do it scared. And obviously, you know, there's gonna be times where you're too sad or you're too sick or you're too scared. You know, I went to a water park recently and I had like a panic attack on the water slide and I couldn't go. And, you know, I didn't force myself to do it to the point where it like could have made me like pass out or something for being too scared. But I use it as a general push to just get myself up and going to do it. Because even today I was like scared to film this video. And you know what? I did it scared. I even forgot that this was in here and I subconscious. 21, progress isn't always linear. I have to remind myself this all the time because even recently I've sort of fallen back into some of my like germophobia tendencies. Like I can feel the skin on the back of my hands is kind of drier than normal because like I've been like excessively washing my hands. And I started to feel really down on myself, like, oh, I was doing so well, like what happened, and just like psychoanalyzing myself of like, what did I do? But, you know, just because you have a minor setback does not mean that all your progress is just out the window. And I think I used to think that. I think just being self-aware and just kind of keeping yourself accountable and, you know, still trying. Again, if you haven't given up, you haven't failed. So yeah, progress isn't linear. You know how many plants I have that have died and then have come back? It's not gonna be the same all the time, and that's okay. Number 22, make your space your own, no matter how temporary. My first 2 apartments, I hardly decorated. I felt like they were too temporary. I didn't wanna hang things on the walls. I didn't go out and like buy decor. It was like, if this isn't functional, I'm not buying it. All of the stuff in our apartments was all like from Brandon's mom, and like, you know, that's fine and all, but like nowadays I will seek out decorations. You know, like I decorated my bathroom in a specific theme, and I think it's so important to just let yourself do that. Because I always had it in my mind, like, no, I'm not going to be here for very long. I can't decorate it. Because I always thought, like, oh, I'm just going to have to pack all this up. I'm going to have to fill in all these holes in the wall. I'm going to have to do all this. You'll do it. You'll do it. It'll get done. But make your space enjoyable, even if you're not going to be there for very long. You know, even if you're like temporarily staying with somebody, like make that space your own. Make that your home. This is kind of stupid and random, but growing up, I lived in one house from the time I was in 4th grade to when I was 20 years old. 10-ish years of my life, I lived in this house, and I remember so vividly, I wanted my walls to be bright yellow, and then I wanted them to be like lime green. I don't know, but I wanted like this bright, colorful room. Obviously, I was a kid. I couldn't paint my room. I wasn't allowed to. And then I remember when we were selling my house in 2014, my Nana and I painted my room yellow. And it kind of just hit me of like, I lived here for 10 years and I never had this yellow room. And now here we are selling it, and now my room is yellow. So it's not waiting. It's just do it and live in it, you know? And so I feel like now I just want to make every space I live in my own. Number 23, you don't always have to explain yourself, period. I guess I won't explain that. I do that too much though. Like even with this list, I've had to like explain everything I've written, and I guess it's just like, you know, you can do stuff, you can make decisions, and it's like if someone invites you somewhere, you can just decline. You don't have to explain yourself. Number 24, having a tough exterior doesn't always equal strength. Being soft and vulnerable takes strength. I think especially as an angsty teenager that loved fishnets and black and dark navy blue nail polish and yeah, I think so often that we equate toughness with strength, but I think it also takes a very large amount of strength to be vulnerable, to be soft, to be gentle. I think that takes so much strength. Number 25, be present, let go of the past, and don't fixate on the future. Yeah, I saw something recently that said your past doesn't need you, your future does. We become so like caught up in like the nostalgia of our past and worried about our future that we lose touch with the present. And here's the thing. We look at like the past as a tangible thing and the present as a tangible thing and the future as this tangible thing. Like all these separate things, these have all flown together. It's like water, you know, it's all together. All right, I'm gonna shut up. That was like the weirdest thing I've ever said. Time is like water. 26, retry that thing you think you dislike, unless it's an ex. Forgot that I wrote that. Just give things a chance. Let yourself try to enjoy it. Don't just have it in your mind, oh, I don't like this. Keep an open mind, girl. 27, consider the source of behavior. Not every crappy action is malicious. It can seem like if somebody lashes out at you or treats you a certain way, or I don't know, if someone like cuts you off in traffic or something, things can feel deliberate and like an attack, but I think sometimes considering like what caused somebody to do this can really kind of reel you back in a little bit. 28, it's okay to say no, especially if it protects your peace. I still struggle to say no. I always feel this obligation to agree and go along with it and do it. It's okay to say no, especially if it protects you from something. Even if it's just your inner peace, do it. Don't be afraid to. Wow, this really shook me to the core. I saw this in a TikTok. It was like some podcast. Good things take time while bad things happen quickly. This really just altered the way I saw everything, because sometimes we can become so engulfed in everything bad that's going on that we don't realize the good things that are just taking time, and sometimes they go more unnoticed, and I think that's why we become so fixated on the bad. I could sit and think about this all day, girl. What? And last but not least, you are the only you that you will Number 30, learn to read. Number 30, you are the only you that will ever exist. You're special, valuable, and have time to create the life you desire and deserve. Don't be so hard on yourself. The world is already harsh enough. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. In times of weakness, rest. In times of strength, reflect. Despite getting older, being scary, it is truly a gift. Enjoy it. Now I'm really gonna cry. Like, what? There's a lot of clarity that comes with getting older that I wouldn't trade for anything. I remember how scary and uncertain being younger felt. There really is a true gift of being able to see the world through an older set of eyes. I might look back at this video 10 years from now and be like, girl, you really thought you had it all figured out. I don't think I have it all figured out. I actually think I have so much more to learn and figure out about myself and about life, but reaching this new point in life of 30, which is kind of weird to still say out loud. It's just kind of wild to think back to how life was as a teenager to how things are now. Just like being able to take that free breath of like, I made it. I remember being about to graduate high school and being like, what am I gonna do? Where is my life gonna go? And even still at 30, it's like, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm still like working on my license. I'm actually doing that currently. While other people might look at that as like, wow, you're really behind, I look at it as like, I'm still here. And, you know, stuff has taken me longer, but there was once a kid who was me that didn't really believe she could do anything. The world just felt so big and scary and I couldn't understand it and I felt like I didn't fit into it. You know, to be here at 30 with more knowledge and more understanding and more grace for myself is just really awesome. But yeah, like I even found this little book. I wrote in this when I was, I think 6, just to see where I came from. You know, while this feels so far away, I can still feel this part of me like internally, you know, like it's weird. It's weird getting older because you still kind of feel, you know, that kid in your heart. Okay, like this is kind of good for a 6-year-old. Like, what? I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me, and for those of you that have been on my channel for any length of time. I mean, I started this when I was 18, so 12 years of my life. Thank you for being on this ride with me, and I am so grateful. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Take what you want from this video and leave the rest, and I will see you guys again real soon. Until then, panda hugs. Love you guys.